All right, so this is dividing radicals. So this is 5C. So 5C is dividing radicals. So we are going to first look at dividing coefficients. So when we have radicals we're dividing, we're going to divide the coefficients first. So this is like 12 divided by 2. So this is going to become 6. Then we are going to use the quotient rule. The quotient rule just states that if you have the exact same radical, that you can take what's underneath the radical and make it one giant radical. So it's A divided by B. So in our case over here, we have the square root and square root of 160 and 5, and we're dividing them. So what we can do is we can actually take and make it one big radical of 160 over, so square root of 160 divided by 5. And you're going to do this if you can see that like 160 easily divides by 5. So we have on the outside the 6, and we're going to times it by 160 divided by 5 is 32. And we're going to break 32 down to 16 and 2. 16 is a perfect square, so that would actually become 4 square root of 2. If you didn't see that, you can break that down, keep going. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 2's. So you have a pair of 2's. That's going to come out with the 6. The 6 comes out times the 2 times another 2, and then the square root of 2 is left over. So 6 times 2 times 2 is 24 square root of 2. That's your final answer. So for number 2, we're going to look at the coefficients. 36 divided by 9 is 4. We have fourth roots and fourth roots, so that means we can actually use the quotient rule to combine what's underneath the radical and divide it. So we have 4 fourth root of 625. Breaking 625 down, square or fourth root of 625 is 25 times 25. We need fourth root, so we got to keep going. So 5 and 5, 5 and 5. And there we go. We have 4 5s. So this is going to become the 4 that's on the outside here times, so it's always multiplication, the 5, which is 20. There we go. It's your final answer. All right, let's look at this next one. We have square root and square root. So we're going to do one giant square root, x to the third, y to the ninth, divided by x squared, y to the fifth. So I'm just going to look at what's underneath the radical. So I have x to the third divided by x squared. That's going to be x. I also have y to the ninth divided by y to the fifth. You're subtracting your exponents. So 9 minus 5 is 4, so it's going to be y to the fourth. At this point, after you combine, you divide, we're going to look to see if we can simplify. So we're looking, can we simplify the square root of x? No. Can we simplify a square root of y to the fourth? Yeah. So we have 4 y's. You're dividing it by the square root 2, so 4 divided by 2 is 2. Or you can think about it as you can take 2 groups out of 4. So 2 groups, that's y times y is y squared, square root of x. There's your final answer. All right, let's take a look at number 4. Number 4, we have 28 divided by 4 is 7. It's a cube root, both the numerator and denominator. Negative 16 m to the 6th over 2m. We are going to divide there, so we have 7 cube root of negative 8 m to the 6th divided by m to the 1st. You're subtracting exponents, so it's m to the 5th. Then we're looking to simplify that remaining cube root. So we have the cube root of 8, 4, 2, 2, and 2. There's your group. Cube root of 8, that's a perfect cube. And that's a negative. Don't forget about the negative. The first number out of a negative cube root comes out as negative. M to the 5th, how many groups of 3 can you take out of 5? Well, that's 1, so it's times m. And then there'll be left over inside the cube root, m squared. So we have 7 times negative 2 is negative 14. M cube root of m squared. Let's look at number 5. 48 does divide by 16, so that works. Square root of 3. Done. That was pretty easy. And next one. So 40 does not divide by 27. So what we're going to do is we're going to break this one actually up. So it's going to break up into the cube root of 40 over the cube root of 27. Cube root of 40, I'm going to do that off to the side. So think about my perfect cubes. So that's going to be 8 and 5. Cube root of 8 is 2. So that's actually going to turn into 2 cube root of 5. If you didn't see that, you can keep breaking it down, and you get 3 2's there. So it's going to break down into 2 cube root of the 5 that's left over. And the denominator, cube root of 27, that is a perfect cube. So that breaks down to 3. At this point, you would actually look to see, can you simplify the radicals 2/3? No, you can't. So then this is your final answer. Next, we're going to do the exact same thing. 7 doesn't divide by 64. X to the 5th doesn't divide by y to the 6th. So I'm going to break this up into the numerator as a radical, cube root, and the denominator. So in the numerator, cube root is 7. Can't do that, but I can do x to the 5th. So I have 5x's, cube root. So I can get one group out. And there'll be 2 left over. We have the cube root of 64. That is a perfect cube. So that's, or you can keep breaking it down. You can keep going if you want, but I see that there's 3 4s there. So anytime you see something like that, you can stop. You can break it down into 2's, and you'll get 2 groups of 2. Y to the 6, you have 6 y's. How many groups of 3 can you take out? Well, 2. At this point, I'd look on the coefficients on the outside, or the numbers on the outside of the radicals, to see if I can simplify anything, and it turns out I can't. So then this is my final answer. Number 8, we have 4th root. 32 doesn't divide by 81, doesn't simplify nicely, so I'm going to break it up. 4th root of 32w, 4th root of 81. The numerator, 4th root. Not very good with 4th root, so I'm going to actually break this down pretty far. 8 times 4, 4 times 2, 2 times 2, 4 is 2 times 2. Okay, so it's a 4th root, so I need groups of 4. So that's going to break down into 2. And then the w is only to the first, so I can't take a group out there. So what's left is the 4th root of 2w. That's over 81. I'm pretty sure that's a perfect cube, or to the 4th. It is. So that's going to end up being 3. So again, I would look at 2/3, and you can't simplify that. So there's nothing to simplify, and that's your final answer. All right, that will do 1 through 8. So that's the part 1 of 5C.